In terms of a safe Christmas, as the Premier has indicated, if we can really limit our mobility at this time, if we can keep our gatherings small, and if we can also choose and preference outdoor settings. So if you're hosting a Christmas dinner for your small group of family, please see if you've got a veranda or an outdoor area where people can congregate. We know that those areas are much safer than indoor environments. But can I stress it? Can I please stress this point, that if we have asked you to isolate, you need to be in isolation. I apologise to everyone who has been put in that predicament, but it is incredibly risky to leave isolation any time prior to those 14 days post your last exposure. I'd also like to highlight that exposure venues change. As you can understand, people often frequent venues, so if there's a transmission event, the time you may well have gone back to a venue at a time and place where a new positive case is. So again, I apologise, but that will mean that there's an extension to your isolation period. So please check the website and be very clear about your exposures at this time. Also, please do not have visitors into your home if you're isolation. Isolation means isolation. It is critical that we do not see any inadvertent transmission from people in isolation. I know this is a challenging time of year, and if other loved ones could please reach out to people in isolation and use technology, phones and other means to really support them, because they are doing the hard yards in protecting you, their loved ones and the broader community. I'd also like to say that we have about 300 testing locations across the state, and many of those will be operational over the Christmas New Year period. So do not delay getting a test. Also, elderly and vulnerable members of the community will be fast-tracked. So if you've had any concerns that you've seen those queues and you're concerned that you may not have been able to stand up for a period of time, please draw that to the attention of the nurses or the staff that are staffing those clinics. We have been prioritising the elderly and vulnerable members of the community, and they'll be fast-tracked in testing queues. And please, if you're younger and more able, please understand when people are being pulled out of the queues for those reasons. We really appreciate the fact that the elderly and people with other disabilities are presenting for testing, and we do need to make it as easy as possible. In terms of, I would also like to draw your attention to, I mentioned yesterday at the press conference, there was a Qantas flight from Darwin to Sydney. All the people who were on the flight from Darwin to Sydney are now considered close contacts and will be immediately tested and asked to self-isolate for 14 days. We are investigating another possible case with our colleagues in another jurisdiction that may be linked. The information is very preliminary, but as a very precautionary step, we're calling everyone on that plane close contacts. That advice may be updated later today, but we feel it's most prudent to take a precautionary approach and then potentially wind that back when more information is to hand. Again, thank you to all of the people in self-isolation across New South Wales. I really genuinely appreciate your efforts.